Hi, my name is Rich, and I want to welcome you to Rich's Kitchen. I'm here with my cooking show, and today we get to go to India. I'm especially pleased with this show today because I'm actually planning on a trip to India for the entire month of February in 2023. So this is sort of a precursor menu, and I'll be picking up some more cooking tips while I'm in India. We'll be doing 3 different dishes today, and it's a fairly long ingredient list, but actually a lot of it is just in the spices and the flavoring. So it actually goes pretty quickly. The first thing we're going to make is called Chana Masala. It's a really well-known dish in India. It's garbanzo beans and their very well-known masala sauce. We'll start with some coconut oil. One of the tricks to spices is to toast them a little bit before you add all the other ingredients in it. So while we are heating up the coconut oil, I'm going to be adding in a few spices that will be toasted in the oil before we add any of the actual garbanzo beans or other flavorings. We're going to add 1 bay leaf, just a pinch of cumin seeds, about a half a teaspoon of coriander. We'll be adding more coriander and more turmeric and more cumin to this as we go. It's a part of the layering process with cooking, where the herbs really come out more if you do a couple different layers of them. So I've added turmeric, a bay leaf, and coriander and cumin seeds. We're going to add a little bit of green chili. These are hot green chilies, but again, I think a lot of people are afraid of Indian food sometimes. They think it's so hot, so spicy. And the term spicy really refers to all the aromatic spices, and it's only the chilies and the garlic that give it some heat. So be a little experimental. Play with it a little bit, because when you think of spicy food, it may not always be hot. So I've added red chili and green chili. And now my favorite, garlic. Now the main ingredient in this first dish are garbanzo beans, also known as chickpeas. And one of the little side things to know about garbanzo beans is the liquid that you get when you open up the can. If you're using canned garbanzo beans, it's usually canned with water and salt. And there's actually another name for the liquid that's left when you drain garbanzo beans, and it's called aquafaba. And aquafaba, strange as it may seem, is actually its own food source, and it's been something that's become really popular because vegans can use it as an egg substitute in a lot of baking dishes. It's not a full-on egg substitute, but the fact that, surprisingly, garbanzo bean water can be an egg substitute is a surprise to a lot of people. We are trying to get some heat going for these spices. I'm going to add a little bit more of the coconut oil. Now, 2 things that are used in Indian cooking that is not always easy to find is mango powder and pomegranate powder. So what we can use as a substitute is actual pieces of mango, and it just adds a nice sweetness to the sauce. You won't really know it's mango, but it adds a really nice sweetness. And it's a counterbalance to the heat and the spice. Instead of the mango powder, we're going to add pomegranate. Instead of pomegranate powder, we're going to add in pomegranate molasses, which is a really good substitute. We're getting a little bit of sizzle here now. We're going to add just a pinch of cardamom. Cardamom can be really overwhelming to food, so you really only want to use small amounts. Now these are the garbanzo beans. I've already drained them. I like using fresh garbanzo beans and soaking them overnight with a little baking soda and cooking them that way. A little more flavor, a little more texture. I've used the canned ones for this today because it's a little quicker, and I wanted to talk to you about the aquafaba liquid. Now we're going to be adding Roma tomatoes, and Roma tomatoes just have a little more juiciness to them. I know they're often used for canning. And the tomatoes with the garbanzo beans and the spices, a really nice flavor combination. So I've got two full cans of garbanzo beans. They're 15-ounce cans. And I'll be adding 3, maybe 4 tomatoes, depending how it cooks down. India is sort of known for very different flavors for northern India or southern India. One is much milder, and one is much spicier. Love that sound. We'll do 1 more tomato for now. Turn that down just a little bit now that we have some heat. And I'll be tasting it just to see. I don't want too much heat, but I want that chili and garlic along with the coriander and cumin spices to come through. Just a rough chop. It doesn't have to be, it's nice if they're all the same size, but it doesn't have to be a small dice. When dicing foods, it's always a good idea to try to make them similar in size. And it's simply a better way for everything to cook at the same rate. And add some pepper. And again, all these recipes are things that you can adjust as you go. The first time you make it, go on the mild side. You can always add more spice. It's pretty hard to undo it. One of the other spices I'll be adding to this is called Hing. In the cookbooks, it'll always be listed as Hing. It's actually an herb that's used medicinally in Ayurveda. And the other name for Hing is asafetida. So if you ever see asafetida listed, or Hing listed in a recipe, and it's a onion garlic kind of smell and taste. It's really pungent. I always have to keep it in glass because it's so strong. And we're going to add about 1/2 teaspoon. And give it a quick stir. We want these tomatoes a little bit softer before we add the garbanzo beans. A little shake. Cinnamon is another herb or spice that's used in Indian cooking, even in the savory dishes. It's not really considered a sweet. All right. I don't know if the microphones are picking up the sizzling, but it's sizzling in here. We're going to add some ginger. And I know I've gone over this before with you. The easiest way for using ginger and peeling it is just take a spoon and scrape the skin. Works really well. You don't waste any of the ginger. And I'm going to use a microplane. It's like a zester. And because ginger can be lots of threads, lots of thin lines, this microplane breaks it down so it is just soft puree. And it blends in with the food really quickly that way. You can buy these with different gratings, so sometimes they are harsher or sometimes they are finer. And you just scrape the ginger in. a little bit. Can you hear that sizzling? Okay, the tomatoes have softened up considerably, so I'm going to go ahead and add the garbanzo beans in. I wish we had smell-o-vision. This is the stage where I'll add a little bit of the pomegranate syrup. And again, it's pretty concentrated, so you just want to add about a teaspoon. But you can see, in fact, I'm going to add a little bit more. So much of this cooking is geared towards your personal taste preferences. I'll taste this in a minute, see if I need to add any more heat, or any more sweetness, any more tomatoes. So while this is cooking, we've got two other dishes to make, both pretty quick ones. We're going to make a slaw, and it's just cabbage and carrots, and it's the dressing that is really so good. So I'm using Savoy Cabbage, a little more tender. We're just going to mix it in here, and I want to add the dressing to it fairly soon, because the dressing is what sort of softens up the cabbage and softens up the carrot that goes in it. And we're going to grate a carrot. I like using full-size big carrots. All the little baby carrots you buy in the bags generally are big carrots that have been machine cut down. So you get a little more flavor by using the full-size whole carrot. I'm going to add that to the cabbage. Just give that a toss. I'm using my hands. Now for the dressing for the slaw, it's pretty simple, goes together really well. And all it is some toasted sesame oil, about a teaspoon, rice wine vinegar, about a tablespoon, let's see, we use a little bit of sugar. And again, we're adding just a little bit of the chilies. We'll see. The other ingredient for the dressing is lime, and lime is a real important part of this. We use a lot of lime in Indian cooking. So we'll use about a half a lime. Yum. And the dressing goes over the cabbage and the carrot early, And the lime, like lemon, sort of works to cook and soften the cabbage and the carrots. So while we're finishing up the rest of the food, this will sit and just have a chance to get a little bit softer. Not hearing any sizzling going on here. Now the third dish we're doing, if you put it in a blender, it can turn into a soup. But I much prefer it as a dip. So we'll be using avocado and raw unsweetened coconut and a few spices. And that'll be a dip that we'll be using with naan. And we'll be dipping the naan into the dip. So I'll be using 2 or 3 avocados here. And this goes pretty quick, and it's a nice way to have something to do while you're waiting for the Chana Masala to finish off. Gotta taste this in a minute, see if I need to add anything more to it. And this dish will have cilantro and yogurt on top. Have some great ripe avocados to work with. So I'm going to use 2 avocados this time. And do a pretty good mash. And again, this goes together really quickly. It's all it is avocado, unsweetened coconut, again, lime juice, and a few spices. Cut this up a little bit. And if you put it in a blender with a little bit of water, it makes a very good soup. A lot of avocado use there. A little bit different varieties in India. For my trip to India, it looks like we'll be spending most of our time in southern India. But we will make a point of going to the Golden Triangle up in the northern part of India. Got a dear friend who's doing a tour. You want this fairly smooth. Okay, I think it's time to taste this. I'm tasting just to see if it needs any more heat, any more sweetness, any more tomato. I think it's tasting good as is. So we've got our mashed avocado. And we're going to put in about 50% less of the volume of the avocado in the raw coconut. And raw unsweetened coconut is as much about the texture as it is about the flavor. Not nearly as sweet. You really wouldn't want to use sweetened coconut with this at all. It would really not work with the avocado. And again, along with the avocado and the coconut, we're still adding a little bit of the extra spices. We're going to add a little bit of garlic. The avocado and coconut is sort of taking a break from the heat. So when you dip your naan into the dip, it'll really be a nice flavor combination and, again, break from any heat you may be feeling from the other food. A lot of lime juice in this. I know they have tools for squeezing fruit, vegetables and fruit and things, but I sort of like the hands-on thing myself. I'm going to give this a little bit of a taste. Gonna add a little more lime. Now I know the next item a lot of people have troubles with, and that's cilantro. I love it. Not everybody does. I like the cilantro mixed in with the dip, and it's really nice with the yogurt on top of the chana masala. So I'll go ahead and put it on there, and it's your choice. The herbiness really helps out the flavor a lot. I think if you're not sure about it, give it a try, because it really is a nice flavor to be added. And for those of you who don't know, cilantro is the plant of coriander. Coriander and cilantro is the same thing. It's just cilantro is the green, coriander is the seed of the plant. All right, we are just about there. I know our interns and engineers are looking forward to the food today. So we have a cabbage and carrot slaw. We have an avocado and coconut dip with naan. And Chana Masala, Garbanzo beans, tomatoes, lots of aromatic spices. And when I come back from India, I'll have some new inspiration and new recipes to work with. Try to take a cooking class almost everywhere I travel to. I know last show was in Bali. And it's nice to find as tart of a yogurt as you can find. So the Greek yogurts usually work best. There we have it. Chana masala, Indian slaw, and avocado and coconut dip with garlic naan. Thanks for coming to Rich's Kitchen.